So let's talk about why, adaptability can lead to success for men, right? Because, men who adapt, win, right? Not because it's not always because they're the strongest or the smartest. It's because, they refuse to be defeated by circumstances. Right, because life is a battlefield, right? Like, and the battlefield is always changing, right? You got new rules, new terrain, new enemies to deal with, and you know what a lot of men tend to do? They tend to cry about it and complain and say oh, this isn't fair, this shouldn't happen. Like, why do things have to change? And it's a lot of times because they don't get it, right? Because let's be honest, like, life doesn't care. The world doesn't slow down because you're uncomfortable. Right. It's if you imagine two men, right? One guy gets hit with a problem and says, I can't do this. This is too hard. You have another man with the same problem. And he says, all right, like, new challenge, new strategy. Let's move. Let's figure this out. Right. The second man's going to win every time. Okay. And the difference is the adaptation, right? Being able to adapt, between the man who stays stuck and the man who becomes, unstoppable. Like, when something goes wrong, most men freeze, right? They lose their job, they lose their girl, their business fails, they fall apart. Why? Because they built their whole entire identity on stability. And that's why, a lot of them tend to fail, while as opposed to a man that succeeds, he's building his identity on being capable, on capability. And when you're adaptable, it's like you have this inner belief that says, throw me in any situation, any city, any industry, any problem, and I'll figure it out, right? Because in life, that's what you have to do. You gotta figure things out, and that's power, that's freedom. That's what makes a man so dangerous. You ever wonder why, like, some men rise faster than others? Like, why one guy takes years and the other one takes like 2 years? It's not genetics. It's not always about luck. It's, being able to adapt, right? The adaptable man doesn't, waste time feeling sorry for himself, or, he looks at the world and asks, like, okay, what he does, he asks, okay, what are the rules today? What's the opportunity now? What's the advantage I can create here? Like, what he adjusts, he pivots, he evolves, and he becomes a new version of himself that many times of himself, that as many times as he becomes a new version of himself as many times as necessary. Okay. And meanwhile, like, you have a lot of guys that they cling on to their routines, their comfort, their old identities, and they wonder why life keeps destroying them. It's because the world is designed to break men who refuse to evolve, right? So check it. When you choose to adapt, you become a very different type of powerful man, right? It's like a man who can't be cornered. You take his money, he adapts and he earns more. You end his relationship, he adapts and improves. You throw him into chaos, he adapts and dominates, right? This is what being an adaptable man entails. All right. This man who adapts is someone that just can't be controlled. And this is the most part that a lot of people won't admit. Like, adaptability is a choice, right? It's like most men don't choose it. They choose comfort, they choose excuses, they choose weakness. And but the man who chooses adaptation chooses greatness, because every challenge becomes a tool, right? Every setback becomes fuel. Every failure becomes a learning experience, becomes education. They take every failure and learn and say, okay, next time, how can I adjust and make sure that this doesn't happen again? And and it's a compounding effect, right? It's like it makes you a monster, it makes you impossible to break, it makes you're able to thrive in places other men pretty much drown in, right? It's like you want to, like, if you want to win in this life, like, you want to become exceptional, then you want respect, money, freedom, options, influence, then you got to master this one skill that that the world can't beat or take away from you. Okay, and you adapt faster than the average man, better than the average man, because when you can adapt, right? When you can adapt, it's like you can pretty much survive anything. Okay, and when you can survive anything, you can conquer everything. Right? It's like pretty simple as that. It's just like remember this: like a strong man can be beaten. A strong man can be beaten. A smart man can be outsmarted, and a lucky man can lose his luck. Okay, but a man who's able to adapt, he becomes inevitable. It's like men who adapt win. And my goal with this video is to make sure that you become that man. So understand that being able to adapt is a skill that, you know, for a lot of people, they refuse to learn. They refuse to adjust, and it's a skill that a lot of people are afraid to you know, take on, because obviously when it comes to adapting, it requires change, and a lot of people don't like change. So my goal for you is to become that man, and learn how to become adapt, because learning how to adapt can bring a lot of success in your life. So those are my thoughts. Interested to hear your thoughts. Make sure you leave a comment down below with the like button and share. And if you haven't done so, then make sure to subscribe. So guys, take care. Have a good one. Later.